Good morning and welcome to Lifeway. How's everybody doing this morning? I tell you what, it's a great day to be here. We're so excited that you're with us today. For you that come every week, I'm so glad that you are here just to come together and worship. For y'all that it's your first time, we want to tell you how glad we are that you were with us today and you chose to be at Lifeway this morning. What we would love is if you would take that connection card in your worship guide, give us a little information about yourself so that we can get to know you better. And we'd love to tell you more about us, so if you would check that box in there to get our weekly newsletter. We're going to have a great time this morning. We're going to sing. We're going to hear a great word as we continue to see you at the movie series. But first, let us just go to God and ask Him to be with us here today and let His Spirit show us that we can do everything He is calling us to do. Let's pray. Father God, we love you, and we are here this morning to give glory to your name. God, I ask that you just bring us together, God, that you unify us as we cry out upon you. God, I ask that you just meet us here. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Says
crashes over me, crashes over me. You are for us, you are not against us. Champion of heaven, you made a way. Because of love, you wave out the way. Crashes over me, crashes over me. You are for us, you are not against us. Champion of heaven, you made a way. Champion of heaven, you made a way for all to enter. You came from heaven's throne, acquainted with our sorrow, to trade the debt we owe. Your suffering for our freedom. The Lamb of God in my place, your blood poured out, my sin erased. It was my death, you died, I am raised to life. Hallelujah, the Lamb of God. My name upon your heart, my shame upon your shoulders, the power of sin undone, the cross for my salvation. The Lamb of God
my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I am falling short, when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe. The only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity. You say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I am weak. You say I'm held when I am falling short, and when I don't belong. Oh, you say I'm yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe. Taking all I have, and now I'm laying it at your feet. You'll have every failure, God. You'll have every victory. Ooh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I can feel as weak. You say I'm held when I am falling short, when I don't belong. Oh, you say I'm yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me, oh Lord. Oh, I believe. Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. has ransomed me. Oh, his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, he's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Oh.
Church, this morning we have sung about a lot of things. We started with how the fact that God makes us brave. He gives us hope. He instills that in us. Church, one thing that I want to let you know about is if we think about this series, somewhere at the movies, we thought we can see all the superheroes that we have done, but I want to tell you something. If you think about those characters, at some point, they have a crisis of character to where they're like, can I really do this? Is this the person that I'm supposed to be? How in the world can I take this upon my shoulders and press forward? Well, I can tell you this morning, church, that we do not have to be like the superheroes in the movies. Because you know what? We find our hope, we find our trust, and we can put our faith in Jesus Christ, and we are who He says we are. We are who He has made us to be. He made Moses to be able to talk, even though Moses couldn't talk without a stutter. He made Samson to be strong, even when they cut his hair. We are who God makes us to be. We are who He says we are. So church, this morning, let us find hope in that. Let us sing it out, that I am chosen. I am not forsaken because I am who you say I am. Let's cry out upon His name this morning, church. Amen. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Come on.
I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me.
could see it clearly. God, I pray that we hear you this morning. In your name we pray. Amen.
Well, hey there, and what's up, Lifeway family? Brandon here, and I'm excited to bring you a few quick upcoming happenings here at the church on this awesome Sunday morning. Our Summer at the Movies promo video has officially launched, and we want you to share it with your family and friends. It's been a great summer of fun here so far, and our Facebook page is just one of the ways that we try and keep you all up to date. So if you haven't yet, get out your phone right now and jump onto Lifeway Church Celina and check out that promo video. While you're at it, hit that like button for us so you can stay up to date with everything that's going on here during the week. We've got some seriously awesome kiddos that come here every Sunday, and if you've got a heart for working with kids, then we got a party that you're invited to. On Sunday, July 29th, we have a special gathering with all of our current and future Way to Go volunteers. It's going to be a blast, we promise. So if you're interested in joining our team, let us know on a connection card and join us for our party. We're ready for some big things, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. Well, that's all we got going on this morning, but first, if you're new here, we want you to know that we are so excited you came to visit Lifeway, and we couldn't be happier to have you. If you're a regular attender and you see a new face, make sure you hop on over and say hello. We got a fun rest of the day planned, so let's settle in for another great Sunday in Summer at the Movies.
I know this neighborhood. I got beat up in that alley.
You just don't know when to give up.
I could do this all day.
Do you have something against running away?
You start running, they'll never let you stop. You really gonna do this now?
There are men laying down their lives. I got no right to do any less than them.
I can offer you a chance.
Our goal is to create a new breed of super soldier.
When you brought a 90-pound asthmatic onto my army base, I let it slide.
I am looking for qualities beyond the physical.
You win wars with guts.
Grenade! Everybody down!
Is this a test?
He's still skinny.
Whatever happens, stay who you are. Not just a soldier, but a good man.
Is it too late to go to the bathroom?
You actually did it.
Who are you?
The boss of many.
Hydra is the Nazi Deep Science Division, led by Johann Schmidt.
He thinks he's a god, and he's willing to blow up half the world to prove it.
You're not even close to this technology.
I asked for an army, and all I got was you.
Congratulations. You just got promoted.
Mr. Stark?
I had some ideas about the uniform.
You're gonna get so many girls.
Captain, we are much alike. I don't know if I can do this.
You won't be alone.
What made you so special?
Nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Hey!
You're late.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, that was awesome. I hadn't seen that bumper till right now. I need to see the movie again. That was really cool. Hey, my name is Josh Price, and I'm the lead pastor here at Lifeway. And before we dive in, I just wanted to tell y'all, we only have 3 weeks left of Summer at the Movies. I can't believe that at all. When we started planning Summer at the Movies and we're pitching around ideas, they said, let's make Summer at the Movies 12 weeks. And I got a pit in my stomach because if y'all don't like it 2 weeks in, we've all got to suffer for 10 more. And I was really scared that it was not going to go well. And I just wanted to ask, I really have had a lot of fun with it. How have y'all? Have y'all liked Summer at the Movies? Yeah? Awesome. Awesome. Well, some good news. I think we're going to do Summer at the Movies every single summer, and so we're just going to change the theme. And this year's theme was Disney, and so we want to hear from you. What would you like your church, our church, to do as we do Summer at the Movies next year? We'd like for you to write it down on your connection card. Let us know. We want you to do just princess movies all summer long. I don't know, whatever it is. Yeah, there's cheering already. We'll do that, yeah. Action movies, not horror. I don't know that we can do horror for 12 weeks. I don't know what we could pull from it. The kids might not be happy, but, put down what you think would be best. We want to hear from you. We want to keep making it better every single summer to where we just keep having more and more fun. And so, before we dive in, there's a couple giveaways we like to do. And the first one is the Best Dressed Child. This is a series for the entire family, and so we encourage the kids, dress up, let the Way to Go Kids workers volunteer. They're already volunteering. Vote on who's the best dressed, and let's see. We have our winners right over here. Bring them on up. Come on. You can give them a round of applause. Wow. Yeah. You come on up here. That is awesome. Nice. What are your names? Paxton. What? Colton? Nice. Paxton and Colton. You got it's really Captain America, right? We shouldn't have known that. You're the real Captain America. Well, y'all won a Redbox movie voucher for you and your family, okay? So y'all take this, and you get a Redbox movie on us, okay? Awesome. So y'all have fun. Can we get a stance, like a Captain America stance? Can you show everyone your powers? Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Well, y'all go have fun in your rooms. We're excited. Thank y'all for dressing up. That's awesome. And then the next giveaway that we have, we want you to be bringing your friends. Bring them here. Let them have some fun with Summer at the Movies. And we do this. We give away 2 Cinemark movie tickets to you and your spouse, your friend, whoever it may be. And the way you win this is by bringing a friend, and they put on the connection card that you brought them, and then it goes in the raffle. And it stays there the whole time. And so we want you to be winning. And so I'm going to just draw one. Hopefully we'll get a lucky winner here. And we have, where's this? Friends. Went to Lifeway. Uh-oh, I can't find, wait. Nope. Did anybody invite Kara Cross? Somebody? Nobody? Okay, next winner. Here we go. Let's see. Someone lucked out. Y'all lucked out. Let's do this one. Ah, the Knolls. Y'all won 2 Cinemark movie tickets. Yeah, come on up. Let me give this to y'all. By bringing your friends on us. Y'all have some fun with it. Love y'all. No problem. No problem. Well, hey. We want to keep doing that, so please invite your friends. Have them put down on a connection card that you brought them, and so you can win 2 Cinemark movie tickets on us. And for you, if you're new here, you might be thinking, what in the heck is Summer at the Movies? And that's a good question. Let me bring you up to speed with what is going on. We're diving into the movies that are already popular, ones that have already been viewed by you, your friends, your family, your kids, your coworkers, and we're taking a faith theme out of those movies, and we're going to talk about it here corporately so that maybe it can help you trust God, allow God into an area of your life that maybe you've never let him in before, or you just begin to know God better because of a movie that is in the culture that is already around you. And we get to see what God has to say about that movie. And we're going to talk about it here corporately so you can scatter rightly. And when I say scatter rightly, what I mean is that you're going to go through your week, and maybe what we talked about here encourages you as you go through your day-to-day. And then you're able to help people that you encounter with the exact same thing that we learned here. All because of a movie that we've all seen, looking at what God has to say about it. Put in one sentence, our heart is to find a faith theme in Captain America. Talk about it corporately so that we can scatter rightly and leverage today's faith theme for Christ. And the question that we kick off every single sermon with is, how popular was Captain America? What are the chances that we could talk to somebody about Captain America and leverage it for Christ? And so I went to IMDb to figure out how popular Captain America was, and it came out in 2011. Do y'all remember? Do you realize it was 2011 when this movie came out? I felt like it came out just a couple years ago, and it grossed $176,654,505 in the U.S. alone. In 2011, the movie tickets were $7.93 a ticket, and so you can say about 22 million people saw this movie in theaters alone. Statistically, this is very rough math, but it means about 1 in 15 people went and saw Captain America in the theaters. And so I wanted to test it. How many people here went and saw Captain America in theaters? In theaters. Do you remember? Raise them high. Raise them high. In theaters. Do you remember? Did you see it? Okay. Now I want to see how many people have seen this movie in theaters, in your home, somewhere. Could you raise your hand? So a lot more. So why are we doing Summer at the Movies? We need to do Summer at your living room. That's what we need to be doing. The more people see it at home. And so the question is, what is the faith theme in Captain America that we can talk about to leverage for Christ? And as I was watching it, I couldn't help but be reminded of a lesson that I had learned a long time ago that I wanted to share with y'all, that I really feel like God taught me, and that is simply that God is the God of underdogs. He's the God of underdogs. And the more that I watch this movie, you just see Steve Rogers is an underdog. And if you don't know who Steve Rogers was, he was Captain America before Captain America became Captain America. And he just couldn't measure up. He wanted to join the army so bad, but he was tiny and scrawny and a morsel of a man, and the army wouldn't let him in because of how scrawny he was. And when he wasn't trying to join the army, do you know what was happening? He's getting beat up in back alleys. Girls don't want to be around him. I mean, he is the picture of an underdog. And instead of me telling you about it, I want you to watch this clip. Check this out.
Beat up in that alley. In that parking lot. Behind that diner.
Did you have something against running away?
You start running, they'll never let you stop. You stand up, you push back. Can't say no forever, right?
I know little of what that's like, to have every door shut in your face.
I guess I just don't know why you'd want to join the army if you were a beautiful dame. Or a woman. An agent, not a dame. You are beautiful, but...
You have no idea how to talk to a woman, do you?
I think this is the longest conversation I've had with one. Women aren't exactly lining up to dance with a guy they might step on.
You must have danced.
Well, asking a woman to dance always seems so terrifying. In the past few years, just didn't seem to matter that much. Figured I'd wait.
For what?
Right partner.
There it is. In the beginning, he says, I got beat up behind that alley, and that alley, and that alley. And this is the longest conversation I've ever had in my entire life with a woman. This is an underdog. The odds are stacked up against him. The world is telling him that he is not good enough. He's not able. His circumstances prevent him from going where he wants to go. And his past is keeping him from the future. This is an underdog. And I believe something in all of us, we just want to cheer for the underdog. There's something in us that makes us want to root for them. And when we see this tiny little guy actually win, the fact that he's had it so rough and he finally makes us go, woo-hoo-hoo! We love it. We love when he makes it. We cheer for the underdog. And that's what makes Steve Rogers becoming Captain America so great. We've seen his trials. We've seen the heartaches. We've seen the stuff he goes through. He can't make it. He can't make it. He can't make it. And he finally does it. And he becomes Captain America. And we cheer. We love the underdog story, and it's not just in movies. It's in sports. I love the underdog. I get to cheer for the underdog every single week because I love the San Diego Chargers, and they're horrible, and so I get to always cheer for them every week. It's great. I love them. And it's not just football, it's also soccer. Not a lot of people love soccer, but there was no reason for Croatia to be in the final against France this past couple months. There's no reason. And if you saw the pictures online, it showed the world and all the countries, and it showed everybody's rooting for Croatia but France. France was the only one in support of France because they were the underdogs. We love the underdog. And what about when the 16th seed team in March Madness goes really far and all of a sudden they're taking on the first seed team? Like Loyola, do you remember? Sister Jean, she's praying for the kids before the games and everyone thought it was the power of this nun's prayer because she was getting them through. This was the underdog and everybody's jumping on board. We were excited. We're cheering them on. And no one really likes it when the number 1 seed team wins, right? Like unless it's your team, you like it. But who likes when the Patriots win? No one. Oh, one. Okay, there's one person. No one likes it. We don't like it. It's awesome. I respect you even more now. And here's the thing. It's not just sports, right? Like when someone gets cancer and they get 3 months to live and they beat the 3 months and they keep going and they knock it out of the park, it makes us cheer. We're excited. Or how about when someone gets an illness or they get in a car accident or it's a military veteran and they're told they can never walk again. And then it shows a video on Facebook of them getting out of the wheelchair and walking again for the first time. It gives us goosebumps. The underdog. One of my favorites, just as much as the other two, is when the third world family moves out of that poverty, moves to America. and they send their kids through college, and they make a name for themselves, and they support their family, it makes us cheer. Yes, they did it. When somebody defies the odds, we go, woo-hoo-hoo, this is awesome. We love it. It inspires us. And I just want you to hear me say, I believe that God loves the underdog story too. And the reason I know this is because almost every story in the Bible is God using an underdog. Over and over, we see God using unlikely people to do great things. I mean, look at the disciples. Jesus comes to earth, and he doesn't go for the Pharisees. He doesn't go for the religious elite. He doesn't go for the people you think he would go for. He goes for the fishermen. He goes for the kids that are uneducated, that just fish for jobs. They don't know anything. Let me take these little, bottom-of-the-barrel kids and let them change the world for my name. Let them. How many use them? I don't want the religious elite. I think of David, right? David, Samuel's supposed to name the next king. He says, go to Jesse's house and find the brothers. And so Jesse wrangles his brother, his sons up, and they all get together. Samuel comes. He sits there and he goes, okay, I need to go through the brothers. The next king's coming. Jesse goes, well, how about this one? Samuel says, nope. Well, how about this one? No. How about this one? Nope. What do you mean it's none of these? This one's tall, dark, and handsome. This one's educated. This one's built like a modern-day linebacker. Why is it not one of these? Samuel says, God? God says, no, it's none of those. I want the scrawny kid out in the pasture that no one even thought to bring to the meeting. That's who I want. I want him as the next king. And David goes on to kill Goliath, and he becomes one of the greatest kings of Israel. It was that little guy that God used. I think of Noah. Hey, Noah, build a boat. Build a what? A boat. Like a big boat, not just a small boat. Why? Because a flood's coming. What's coming? A flood, the world. It's bad. Just build the boat. Okay, I will, I guess. I don't even know how to build a boat, but okay, do it. Okay, God. And 2 of every animal got to fit on this thing? Oh, and when the people come and say they got to take my kids away because I've lost all my marbles, just keep going? Yeah, just keep going. That sounds great, God. Sign me up. I want some of that. And over in the Bible, we see God using underdogs to achieve great things. And the takeaway I get from these stories and our stories that we love is God doesn't look for the obvious choice. He doesn't. God more often than not goes for the person that no one thinks should be chosen. God goes for the person with the past, the person with the insecurity, the person with the problems. God says, I want that person on my team. And it makes me ask the question, where are you not the obvious choice? Where? Because God's not looking for the obvious choice. And we all love the underdog story until we are the underdog story. I remember when I was in high school, I had been passed to play football. He just passed me. Some of y'all might not know this, but I'm a high school dropout. I didn't finish high school. They told me, oh, you're going to need to go on Saturday. You're going to need to go to 8 periods. You're going to need to go to summer school. You're going to need to do all this because we're not going to pass you to play football anymore. And I say, yeah, right. I'm not doing all that. And I was into drugs and alcohol and girls at the time. And so I had other priorities. So I dropped out. And I found myself at a juvie correctional facility to try to finish out school. And I remember going in there. My mom had to sign a waiver that they could inflict corporal punishment on us. And I didn't really believe as much back then in the giants in the Old Testament until I saw this man who was allowed to beat me legally. And when I went to that school, and I said, yep, they were real because of that man right there. And he can beat me, literally, legally. You had to go through metal detectors, strip searches, and they searched everywhere. They went through your bags. They did everything. Cops with dogs. You walk in. It was like going to prison just to finish out high school. And I remember going in, and I'm not kidding you. I don't know how they did it. There's knives inside the school. There's drugs. There's gang violence. I saw a gang fight right outside the school when I left one day, and I remember thinking, why am I here? How did I get here? And oh, by the way, Josh, the only way out of this school is if you test out of all the classes that you haven't paid attention to for the last 6 years. Well, that's great. That's going to be fun. I hadn't done homework in 6 years. I hadn't paid attention in 8. I don't know anything. And this is really real. In senior year, I didn't know what an adjective was. I didn't know how to multiply fractions. I had not paid attention at all. And test out, Josh. If you want to get out of here, you need to test out. I didn't feel like the obvious choice in that moment. I felt like the underdog. There's no way in heck I'm getting out of here. And you might have never been in that situation before, I get that. But there's a lot of places where we feel like the underdog, where we're not the obvious choice. Maybe you feel like that right now. You see, I did a poll on Facebook this past week, and I asked people, where do you feel like an underdog? Where is it that you find yourself feeling like an underdog? And more often than not, in the text messages I got, and the Facebook messages, and the comments, the number one spot was, I feel like an underdog in my parenting. I feel like an underdog. The world is telling my kid they need an iPhone by age 7. They need to have Instagram and Snapchat, and if they don't have this iPhone and they don't dress like this, then they're weird, and there's this internal struggle of, should I let my kids have what I think is good for them, or should I let them just fit in with the world so they don't feel like an outcast? I don't know what to do. I feel like an underdog. I feel like an underdog. I've got a teenager and they're rejecting God, and I keep trying to tell them about God. I keep trying to love on them, and they keep pushing them away. And I'm trying to raise them in your name, God. I'm trying to bring them up in your provision, and they don't want it. I feel like an underdog. Raising teens, I'm an underdog. Grandparents, you were watching your kids grow up, and you tried to raise them in the Lord, and they didn't want it, and now they have kids, and they're not raising them in the Lord, and it's freaking you out. They're not bringing them up in the Lord's provision, and you're not sure what to do. Should I speak into their life? How much can I speak into their life before the parents get mad? What am I allowed to say? I'm not sure how to handle this. I'm an underdog. Another one was financials. Feel like an underdog in our own finances, and we made a couple bad decisions that made our budget really tight, and we're trying to work our way out of this hole, but no matter how hard we try, no matter how hard we budget, no matter how many times I eat that turkey sandwich and that apple for lunch that I take to work, I cannot seem to get ahead. I can't get out of this financial hole that I've found myself in. I'm drowning. I'm not the obvious choice. Sometimes it's just work. We find ourselves leading a team, trying to figure something out, solve a hard problem, and we feel unqualified. We only have a GED, and all these young kids that are coming out of college have these bachelors, and they're more qualified than we are, and for some reason, I'm the one leading this team, and I don't know if I can figure it out, and I start focusing on my inability rather than the task at hand. And you feel like an underdog. Wherever it may be, we all feel like underdogs in our lives from time to time. And I believe that God gave me this message to give to somebody directly today, that being the underdog puts you on God's team. It does. Being the underdog puts you on God's team. And this plays off of last week's message a little bit, but so often we look at what something should look like, we see how it should play out, and we tell ourselves we'll never be able to be like them. We'll never be able to do it like that. We'll never be that good of a parent, and we become less in our own minds, while the image of what we should achieve becomes further and further away, and it makes us more of an underdog. And please hear me. God's not looking for the obvious choice, church. He's looking for you. And wherever you're struggling, no matter what you're dealing with, where you think you're an underdog, God almost always says, yeah, I want them. If this were a pickup game, God says, I want the last pick first. Put them on my team. And that's why Paul says in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, I would rather boast about the things that show how weak I am. I would. Why? Because he knows God is the God of underdogs. He knows that God's not looking for the obvious choice. He knows God is looking for you. And that's a hard thing to do, boast about your weakness. Even in 2018, that sounds countercultural. I'm about to run around and tell people where I'm weak. That sounds ridiculous. But the thing that comes from that if you're taking notes, I want you to write down, is this simple truth. And it's that God will let you be less than you could be, so that you can become all that you should be. God will let you be less than you could be, so that you can become all that you should be. And the best way I know how to explain that is from somebody in the Old Testament. We consider him to be a pillar of our faith. He has movies made about him in 2018. We look at him as someone like a role model, but the more we dive into him, the more you see that actually he was human, with hang-ups and mess-ups and struggles, and that man is Moses. And if you want to follow along or take notes, it's Exodus 3. That's where I'm going to be pulling from, but I'm going to be flying through his life so that we don't spend a ton of time there. If you want to go back you're welcome to go back to Exodus 3, but let me explain what I mean when I say that. If you remember Moses' story, he's growing up. The Hebrews are under the Egyptians' rule. They're slaves. And Pharaoh decides, hey, the Hebrews, they're repopulating way faster than we are. And if we let this happen, they're going to outnumber us and they're going to kill us. And so Pharaoh says, let's kill every boy under the age of 2. And he does. Except Moses' mom runs away and puts Moses in a basket, sends him down the Nile. Y'all know this story right here. And who picks up Moses? Do you remember? Pharaoh's daughter. I mean, how ironic is that? Let's kill all the Hebrew boys. Pharaoh's daughter picks up a Hebrew boy under the age of 2, takes her back to her house, and he lives in the Pharaoh's house. Pharaoh doesn't kill him. Grazes him in the Egyptian ways. He's in the most powerful man in the world's house, Pharaoh, and he grows up for 40 years with Pharaoh. But the Egyptian ways didn't rub off on Moses. And he hated seeing that the Hebrews were tortured and enslaved and they were getting beat and whipped, and he hated it. One day he found himself in the marketplace, and he was watching an Egyptian slave master beat a Hebrew. He didn't like it, and so he killed the Egyptian slave master. Let me say that. He is a murderer, Moses. Just make sure you heard that. Moses was a murderer. And the Hebrew man saw it, and his own guy, his own race, his own person, his own people turns him in and says, hey, I saw what you did. And he told the Egyptians, and so Moses runs. Scared for his life, he ends up in what's soon to be known as his father-in-law's house, Jethro. He gets married and he stays there for 40 more years. Life is good, everything's great, and then all of a sudden there's a bush burning out in the distance and it's not burning up, and he's thinking, what in the heck is going on? And so he walks out to the bush, and God's voice comes from it. God begins talking to Moses, and look what he says. He says, look, this is God talking. The cry of the people of Israel has reached me, and I have seen how harshly the Egyptians abuse them. Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. Moses, I want to send you back to where you were raised for 40 years. You must lead my people Israel out of Egypt. Hey, Moses, I know you're a murderer. Hey, Moses, I know that people hate you there, and the Pharaoh doesn't like you, and the Hebrews don't want you. I know that you do not belong there, and I know that you're 80 years old. But go back to Pharaoh for me. I need you to lead my people out of Israel. And if I'm Moses, I'm thinking, what? God, the smoke from that bush must be clouding your judgment, because I'm not going back. I'm not going to be the one to go back to Egypt. It's not happening. You've got the wrong guy for the job. If you haven't noticed, I'm 80. If you haven't noticed, they don't like me. If you haven't noticed. See, the problem is that God's not looking for the obvious choice, church. He's not. And even though that's true, Moses feels this way in this moment, like he's the underdog. And don't we feel exactly the same way that Moses did when he was in this moment? I'm $40,000 in debt, and I'm supposed to work my way out. And things keep going wrong. The AC went out. The tires need changed. I have kids going back to school in a month, and I just keep having to swipe the card, swipe the card, swipe the card. And you're saying tithe? That makes absolutely no sense, God. It doesn't make sense. I'm supposed to parent in 2018 culture. It's like I'm the only one still trying to instill morals and values into my kid, and the whole world is telling them the opposite, and there's a problem. My kids like the opposite. It's, Mom, you're so lame, this. Dad, you just don't understand. And every time they run back to their friends and they complain to their friends' parents about me, and that I'm still trying to teach them God's ways in 2018, and I feel like Moses, a victim to my own family. My own people are turning me in. And I'm supposed to just keep teaching them your ways, God, because it doesn't seem to be working. I don't think you understand, God. See, we love the underdog story until we are the underdog story. And when we're the underdog, that's usually when insecurity comes out, just like it did for Moses. You see, Moses actually comes up with 3 excuses as to why he's not the guy for the job. He says, oh, this is my excuse. This is why I can't do it. And I want you to see if these excuses sound like maybe the same excuses that you use from time to time. See, the first excuse he uses is, I'm the nobody excuse. He says, but Moses protested to God, who am I? Who am I? Who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people out of Israel? Who am I to be a parent to these kids and try to work out a debt? Who am I? What do you mean, God? I don't know if you noticed, but I've got a lack of credibility when it comes to the Egyptians and the Hebrews, and God overcomes it. And if you struggle with that excuse, I would challenge you, go back to Exodus 3 and read God's response to Moses. See what he has to say to these excuses. He overcomes it, and Moses gives him the second one. This is the what if excuse. But Moses protested again. What if they don't believe me or listen to me? What if they say the Lord never appeared to you? What if I'm not able to pay that bill because I tithe, God? What if? I don't know if you know this, but my kids know that I cuss and I get angry, and they know who I am, and then I'm supposed to just show up and say, oh, now we're living for God? What if they reject me? What if they say, yeah, right. Okay, Dad. Okay. God overcomes that one. And then Moses gives them the third excuse, and the third excuse is really the root of all the problem. The third excuse is where all of his doubt is coming from, and this is the I'm flawed excuse. I'm flawed. But Moses pleaded with the Lord, oh Lord, I'm not very good with my words. I never have been and I'm not now. Even though you have spoken to me, I get tongue-tied and my words get tangled. I mean, here is Moses literally talking to a bush that is on fire and saying that it is God. I don't know about you, but if there's a bush on fire, I'm going to be skeptical. But then when it says it's God and it's this voice, I'm going to say, you know what? You want me to go to Israel? I'm going to Israel. We can do this if you can talk through a bush. I got it. Let's do it. And Moses is saying, nope, not me. I can't do it. Why? Because I stutter. Really, Moses? I'm talking to you through a burning bush. I can do this. And here's what I get from this scenario. Moses still saying no. This is what I get. God doesn't use perfect people. God uses real people. And real people have flaws. Real people have struggles. Real people have speech impediments. Real people feel like underdog. And the reason we feel like underdogs is because we live in a broken and fallen world. And so you better believe we're all messed up. You're messed up. I'm messed up. And God still says, I want to use you, because those flaws that you have that make you feel like an underdog are actually the very things that He wants to use to make you all that you should be. See, God will let you be less than you could be by having a flaw, so that when you decide to use Him, He'll make you all that you should be. Did you ever notice that God didn't take away Moses' speech impediment? He didn't. He said, Moses, I'm not going to take it away. I'm going to let you be less than you could be, so that when you decide to trust me and go back to Israel and you be a mouthpiece for an entire nation, then you'll become all that you should be. And God says, I'll get the glory. And it didn't just happen to Moses. Go back to 2 Corinthians with Paul. Paul says in 2 Corinthians, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me and keep me from becoming proud. 3 different times I begged that God would take it away. 3 different times. Historians, archaeologists, scholars, they don't know what the thorn in the flesh was. It wasn't literally a thorn. He could have been like, and taken it out. It wasn't that easy. They think it was probably malaria, a problem with his eyes, or epilepsy. We're not sure. It was one of those. 3 different times he asked God, please take this away so I can be used for God even more. And 3 different times God said, no. Here's the little mini message. God does answer prayer, and no is just as much an answer as yes. And in 2018, people-pleasing culture, we don't like to hear that, but God does say no. And God said no to Paul. He says, no. I'm not going to take it away. 3 different times Paul says, God, take the thing away that's making me feel like an underdog. And 3 times God said, my grace is all you need. God said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. It works best in your weakness. But why? Why does a loving God do this? Why would a loving God not take away Moses' speech impediment? And why would a loving God not take away the thorn in the flesh that Paul had? And it's simply this. If dependency is the goal, then your weakness is an advantage. If dependency is the goal, then your weakness is an advantage. If what God is trying to do is make you depend on Him more and more, and it takes you having a weakness to realize that, then He will allow you to have a weakness so that you can depend on Him. So that weakness becomes an advantage, and then you are all that you should be. Are you following me? And if this makes sense, it makes sense with Captain America too. You see, God had nothing to do with it, but Steve Rogers was less than he could be until he got his powers, and then he became all that he should be. The scientists, the U.S. Army had an idea of what Captain America should be. The man that Captain America needed to be had heart and character, and they needed someone to be less than he could be so that he remember who he was, so that when he got his power, he didn't abuse it, and he'd become all that he should be. And God works the same exact way. Moms, God will let you be less than you could be as a mom. He will let you doubt yourself. He will let you struggle, so that when you realize your need for Him and you use Him and you partner with Him, He'll make you all that you should be. Because if dependency is the goal, then your weakness is an advantage. He'll let it happen. Just like He let Moses, just like He let Paul. God will let you feel like an underdog in your finances. And a lot of times we just pray for Him to take it away and we expect it to be gone tomorrow. When it's not, we just say, okay, well, that must not have been God and He wants me to struggle. But maybe what He's trying to get you to realize is you need Him before, during, and after the financial struggle, so that when you finally work your way out, you won't go back into the mess that you were in. And He will let you be less than you could be until you involve Him, and then He'll make you all that you should be. God will let you feel like an underdog in your marriage, because He knows you can't do it on your own. You need Him. So that when you finally include Him in your marriage, and people ask, how do you have such an awesome marriage? All you can say is God. That's who it was. That's the only thing we added. I was not a great husband till I included God. And this is hard to hear. It really is. But God is willing to let you fail. God is willing to let you have horrible parents. God is willing to let you have a speech impediment. And this is the hardest to hear. God is willing to let you have an illness that you cannot shake. He's willing to let me be a lead pastor of a church. Why? Because if dependency is the goal, then your weakness is an advantage. He wants you to depend on Him, and if you just have no weaknesses at all and you go through life, you're going to think you're God and that you don't need any kind of God. He's willing to let you have it. That's why Paul goes on to say in 2 Corinthians, so now I am glad to boast in my weakness so that the power of Christ can work through me. I take pleasure in that's why I take pleasure in my weakness and in the insults and the hardships and the persecutions and the troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong. For where I'm weak, God has the power to be strong. Because if dependency is the goal, then your weakness is an advantage. And church, until we're willing to admit who we are and where we are weak, we'll never be able to be fully used by God. We won't. That's why Paul boasts in his weakness, because he knows where he is weak, God has the power to be strong. And so I just have to ask, where is your weakness? Where's your weakness? Because I have a challenge for you. I want you to really think of it. And I want you to wake up every single morning. This is going to sound crazy. Wake up every single morning, go to bed every single night, and thank God for your weakness. Do it. Because until you're able to admit where you are weak, then God does not have the power to be strong. And if His whole goal is for you to be dependent upon Him, then your weakness should become an advantage, and He will still use you like He used Moses. He will still use you like He used Paul. He will still use you for the reason that He created you for in the first place. See, God didn't look down one day and go, oh my gosh, who made her a mom? That's not God. God didn't do that. He looked down and He said, oh, she's a mom. Now I'm going to let her be less than she could be until she realizes her need for me. And when she includes me, I'll make her all that she should be. I'll do it if she'll include me. But until she includes me, she'll be less than she could be. But I made her for better than that. I made her for greater than that. I have bigger plans and a bigger purpose for her than that. But she just needs me. The next time your kids are about to make you blow your lid and you're about to be real mad and yell at them and go crazy, just stop. Stop. And I want to challenge you, what does God say to do about anger? What does God say to do about raising your kids? How are you supposed to discipline them? Do you know? Because God talks about it. And I would tell you to do it. And I'm not going to tell you. Go to your Bible. Do what He says. Don't do what I say. And instead of yelling at them and getting angry, do exactly what God says. Next time you're giving your kids counsel and you're trying to tell them what they should do, in a second it becomes your counsel and not His, just stop. Just stop. So often youth ministry, right? Did it for 10 years. Oh, if they love you, you can have sex with them. That's fine. It's good. I've heard parents say it. It's crazy to even hear, but it's true. What does God say? And he might not be like, you'd say, oh, yeah, you should do this, not have sex before marriage, and then your kid's like, oh, Mom, you're so lame, right? And instead, you say, you know what? Instead of bringing up God, how I handle it is I just say, look, I want you to be happy. I want you to be happy. And look at the statistics across the board. Look at divorces skyrocketing. Look at how many people are looking for love. And they think it stems from right now, the decisions you make, don't have sex before marriage. And oh, by the way, God said it too. He created you for a purpose. He created you so that you could live a certain life. And I'm telling you, the most happiness that I can think of is by just doing these things. And you give the counsel that God says. And he tells you what counsel he would give, but it's in here, in the Bible, not in me. Maybe you're struggling financially. You feel like an underdog. You can't seem to get ahead. You can't seem to get ahead. You can't seem to get ahead. What if you thank God for where you're at? So you know what, God? I thank you because I've got a weakness and I need your power, and don't expect it to be gone tomorrow. But maybe you start doing what the Bible says, and the Bible says tithe, and as crazy as that sounds, as crazy as it sounds to give money when you have none, do you know what the Bible says will happen if you do it? I'm not going to tell you. Read it. Look at it. Because dependency is the goal. For you to depend on him and trust him, and if I just give you the answers, you won't do it. You won't have the dependency that God's looking for. So I'm pushing you to go to his word so that you can depend upon him and put it into action, and it's between you and God. And just do what it says. Maybe the next time you're leading a team and you're in a project and you're not sure what to do and you don't know how to do it, you lead like God says to lead. You handle the project like God says to handle it. You go with your team the way that God says to do it, and he talks about it. It's just up to you to go back into the word and figure out what he has to say, and then do it. Because every single day, wake up, thank God for your weakness, and give him more of it. Depend on him more every single day. Because God will continue to let you be less than you could be so that you'll become all that you should be. Why? Why would a loving God do that? Because if dependency is the goal, then your weakness is an advantage. Let's pray. Lord, I just pray that you just challenge us, all of us, even me, to depend on you more every single day. Wherever we feel like underdogs, I pray we just thank you. Thank you for it. And we learn to depend on you more and more, more and more, more and more. Lord, we love you. We thank you. We look to you. And I pray that you help people, remind them that you're here, you care, and you want to do a mighty thing through them. And they just need to depend on you. And it's in your son's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Man, if dependency is the goal, then weakness is an advantage. That is something that I continue to struggle with day in and day out. I got to confess, just depending upon God. But isn't it amazing that we have a loving and gracious God that is patient with us, that waits on us to come to him and say, God, I am weak. Use me. My name is Mike Rudig, and I'm the Connections pastor here. And if it's your first time with us, we just want to say welcome. We're so glad that you're here with us today, and we want to introduce you more and more to this gracious and loving God who uses those of us who are weak. So if it's your first time with us, there's a connection card in your chair. We would love to get to know you more and just say thank you for coming. And if there's anything that we can do to come alongside you and show you this God, you can just fill this connection card out. You can take it out to Guest Central in the foyer. And we just have a thank you gift for coming, and we can answer any questions for you that you might have today. Another thing that we want to talk about is tithes and offering. It's the summer. And as you know, in the summer, we're all in and out and in and out. But that doesn't mean we don't need to be faithful and that we can't be faithful. There's lots of opportunities to remain faithful in giving of our tithes and our offerings. This is not for first-time guests. This is for those of us who call Lifeway our church home, those of us who support the ministries here. We always say sometimes we don't need a miracle to do what God has called us to do. We just need our people to continue to be faithful in season and out of season. And so if you came prepared to give your tithes and your offerings, you can drop your giving envelope in the worship boxes in the back that you can give online at our website, or you can give through our text giving option on the screen. Another thing that we want to talk about is, as Josh made known to you over the last couple weeks, we are going to 2 services on October 7th, and we are so excited. We really do believe that God is going to use this opportunity to reach people for Christ in our community. But we need your help. And so on your chair, there is an I Serve card. And I don't want you to miss that. In order to make this happen, I heard Josh's message. I know I was away on vacation. It's so good to be back. But I watched, and he said, we can't do this without you. And that is so true. We need every single person to step up and to do their part. God has gifted us and equipped us to do the work of the ministry. And so we want to do that. So take that I Serve card, fill it out, drop it in the box, take that step of faith, step off that ledge like Josh talked about a couple weeks ago, and sign up for that. And the other thing that we need you to do is, you see those Summer at the Movie cards or those invite cards, take that and begin to invite someone. Invite someone to be here next week. Invite someone to be here for one of our services coming in the fall, in October, when we go to 2 services. Start now. Start inviting your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers who need to know Christ. And be sure to do that. The final thing is our great campaign. We do this every year. It's one of the best things that we do as a church, and our church just loves doing it. It's where we go out and we serve our community through eight projects, roughly. And this is a great opportunity that's coming at the end of the summer. This year, we wanted to say, hey, let's take our community right here at Lifeway and say, who do we know? There are people that we know that don't know Christ, people that we know that are hurting and struggling, and they know people in their lives that we could serve and show them the love of Jesus. And we want to do that in our great campaign. We're going to be partnering with Grace Bridge again. We'll have a few projects with them, but we want to know who in your life is hurting and who can we serve. And so immediately after the service, I'm going to ask Tracy to raise your hand real quick. There's Tracy right there. Tracy is going to be in the foyer immediately following the service. If you know someone, a neighbor, a friend, a coworker that lives in the Celina area, prosperous surrounding areas, that we can serve and show them the love of Jesus, would you go talk to her and just let her know that person's name, what maybe potentially they may need help with, so that we can love on them? And then finally, before I dismiss you, make sure you go see Captain America. He is the real deal, legit. Get your picture with your kids. Get your picture for yourself, dads. You know you want one. Y'all are dismissed. We'll see you next week.